It's the 1960s, the golden age of television. Families gather every night sitting cross-legged in front of their TVs, mesmerized by their favorite shows. From sitcoms to news broadcasts, the TV had become the ultimate entertainment device. But let's be honest, it wasn't interactive. The most thrilling part of your TV experience was switching between channels with a clunky dial. Then came a man with an idea that would transform the television from a passive box of moving pictures into a portal of interaction. His name? Ralph Baer, and his vision: to make games playable on your television. This is the story of the Magnavox Odyssey, the world's first video game console. And it all started with one question: what if you could play with your TV? Part 1. The spark of an idea. The year was 1966. Ralph Baer, an engineer at Sanders Associates, a defense contractor, was working on technology for military applications. But in the back of his mind, he was obsessed with a different kind of project. For years, Baer had been thinking about the untapped potential of televisions. One day, he jotted down a simple yet revolutionary idea: make a game system that works with a TV. That note would become the foundation for an entirely new form of entertainment. Baer and his small team began experimenting. They used spare parts, wires, and circuits to create a working prototype. This wasn't just any prototype. They called it the brown box. And while it didn't look like much, it was, quite literally, a brown wooden box. It could do something no one had ever done before. It played games. Part 2. Building the first video game console. The brown box was a marvel of creativity. It allowed players to interact with their TV screens using basic controllers. You could play table tennis, a target, shooting game, and even a chase game. It was simple, yes, but also groundbreaking. Let's break it down. The games weren't built into the TV or even stored in cartridges. Instead, the brown box used analog circuitry to create moving dots on the screen. And those dots, they were your game. By 1972, Baer's invention had been refined into a commercial product. It was renamed the Magnavox Odyssey and released to the public as the first ever home video game console. Part 3. How the Odyssey worked. Now, if you're imagining the Odyssey as a sleek, high-tech gadget, think again. It was a beige plastic box with two controllers that looked like knobs. It didn't have sound. It didn't have color. It didn't even have graphics as we know them today. Instead, players used plastic overlays that stuck to their TV screens. These overlays added colorful backgrounds to the otherwise black and white dots generated by the console. Want to play ping, pong? You'd stick a green court overlay on your screen and move your paddle, which was really just a glowing dot up and down. The sound effects, those were up to you. If you hit the ball, you'd probably say, boop. And when you missed, maybe, aw. Part 4. Challenges and triumphs. Despite its innovation, the Magnavox Odyssey faced some challenges. For starters, it was ahead of its time. In 1972, the idea of playing games at home on your TV was so new that most people didn't even understand what the console could do. To make things worse, the Odyssey was only compatible with Magnavox TVs. This gave consumers the false impression that they needed a Magnavox television to use the console. Even though it worked with most TVs, as a result, sales were limited. In total, the Odyssey sold about 350,000 units. While that may sound small compared to today's standards, it was a remarkable achievement for a product that created an entirely new market. Part 5. The legacy of Ralph Baer and the Odyssey. So, what did the Magnavox Odyssey achieve? In simple terms, it laid the foundation for the entire video game industry. Ralph Baer's work inspired future pioneers like Nolan Bushnell, who founded Atari, and companies like Nintendo, which would go on to dominate the gaming world. Every console you've ever played, whether it's a PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch, can trace its lineage back to the Odyssey. And Ralph Baer, he's now remembered as the father of video games. Part 6. From ping pong to virtual reality. Think about this for a moment. The Odyssey's most advanced game was a simple ping pong simulation. Today, we're playing games with hyper-realistic graphics, exploring massive open worlds, and competing in international esports tournaments. We have virtual reality, augmented reality, and even games controlled by brainwave activity. It's incredible to think that all of this started with a wooden box, some plastic overlays, and a man who dared to dream, a revolution from simplicity. The Magnavox Odyssey wasn't just a product. It was a revolution. It proved that televisions could do more than just show us stories. They could let us create them. So, the next time you pick up a controller, remember Ralph Baer and his brown box. Because every great innovation starts with one simple idea. And that's the story of the Magnavox Odyssey, the console that started it all. Here's where I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about the Magnavox Odyssey? Have you ever played one, or do you know someone who has, or maybe you've got a favorite console or game that shaped your gaming journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm excited to see how gaming history connects with your own experiences.